force you to?
Well, of
okay,
course.
that's not a nice word. Force you to do. What did they have you do to the
Okay,
property?
so more of a suggestion,
Okay.
which I didn't accept. So
Okay.
they were just like, redo the wood, the tiles in the house.
Sure.
So, no. And there were several other things, something with the roof. And the house was dated 1910. So it was an old home. But we had taken it down to the studs and had it rehabbed. So their thing was coming back with options that the price of where they wanted us to be and where we wanted to be was kind of the price of what they were saying the rehab seems to be.
Okay, okay. And so so what did you accept? Did you accept any of the?
No.
No, so you said no.
No.
And then so what happened? Did they reduce the price and you?
No, they didn't reduce the price. We actually ended up giving them more amount because I think so it's kind of tricky, which I noticed that what they were doing. The property that we had the house set on actually were 2 lots. And it was 2 separate lots.
Oh.
And so within their contract, they kind of hid the fact that they were trying to get both lots. Smart.
Okay.
So after it went back and forth,
Okay.
and I was just like, we don't have to do it. I can walk away.
Sure.
They came back with, we'll take the property with the renters inside because it was an income producing property.
Right. Okay.
And which they did accept it.
Okay. And so, did you interface with somebody directly, or was this all virtual?
Virtual. Everything was virtual.
Okay. And then when they did the inspection, what kind of inspection company did they use? Was it a traditional inspection company?
It was traditional.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Great. All right. And then you did mention to me what happened to the renters afterwards.
Yeah, they got booted.
They got booted. So.
But they do have their own renters in there, so they did keep it as a rental property.
Yes, and I was about to mention that as well. So I did notice that the property is still owned by the same company, and it hasn't been listed for sale or anything like that. So they booted your renters and then they put new renters in it. Okay, so my last question to you, and then we'll just kind of open it up if anybody else has any other questions, was, in hindsight, do you feel like you made a great choice?
No.
Okay.
You're like,
Yes.
Well, yes and no. Let's put it that way. So it was quick process. It was very easy. It was easy, and I like that.
Easy.
I didn't have to go out and find a buyer because they came to us, basically. And the part that I didn't appreciate or didn't like was that I could have made more money selling it with a realtor.
Okay.
So I called, you didn't answer.
Oh no! Remember that? I always answer.
Yes, no, I would have sold through a realtor.
Okay.
It was my husband.
It was so good. Awesome. Okay. So, does anyone have any additional questions before I move on? Yes.
So how long did the entire process take for you, as easy as it was?
Just a couple months, and that was because we were delayed. I delayed it. I was just like, stop, I don't want to talk to them anymore. So, whereas my husband was trying to push it, it was really fast.
Okay.
It would have taken a couple weeks and done, but because I was like, stop communicating, I don't want to do it anymore. Then they came back and was like, we'll give you the higher price. Thank you.
Fierce negotiator. Rick.
What information data do you have that says you left money on the table by not listing it, and by how much?
Just the comps, the area comps.
Do you know what percentage amount?
Possibly about 15 to 20,000.
What was the house price?
70.
So that's a pretty big percentage. That's to your net, or is that
Oh goodness.
50,000 different in the
Yes.
price, or even after you would have paid?
No, in the price.
Okay.
Yes.
Did they use their own title company, or were you able to
They
choose one?
did. No, they used their own, which I hated.
You hated the title company. Okay. Well,
And specifically the person who worked there. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So the experience wasn't as
No.
great as it could have, because you've bought homes before and things like that, so you're
Very
used to
easy.
good customer service.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Did they provide a net sheet at your first meeting or over the phone? Did they email it to you, kind of showing you what closing costs were going to be? And was it the same thing at closing?
It was. And we never met face to face. The only time I actually didn't meet anyone from the company. We met at the title office and closed the deal. And I actually had to drive to Jacksonville to close it. Yes.
Oh, no.
Yes, twice. Because the first time we got there, there was a document that they needed and had not been.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
And again, I just want to remind you guys that this is great, you know, as an opportunity when you're speaking to your sellers, when you go, well, let me tell you a story. Let me tell you about one of our customers. You know? So, any other questions? Yeah, I know, right? Change to protect the industry. Any other questions? Thoughts? Okay. Wonderful. So Donna, you're gonna stick around just for a little bit, I guess, if you know, and if you need, I know you need to run away also, but I thank you so much. Everybody, oh wait, Dennis does have one question.
Would you do it again?
No.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Donna. Everybody give her a hand. Okay. So understanding what the difference is between a traditional sale and an iBuyer seller. So traditional, the goal is to retain more equity for the seller. So this wouldn't work for your sellers who are like, look, I need all the cash that I could get out of this, right? Time to close generally is about the 30 to 60 day mark. Upfront cost for repairs, staging, you know, those are the services that we provide, right? That we're able to help them understand and do because we are physically walking the property and helping them understand what they need. Open houses and showings, so we give them that initial feedback about what other people are thinking about or feeling about the property. Bottom line again is so that they can net the highest price that they possibly can. And then the other thing too is buyer contingencies, and of course a good listing agent will talk about that right up front, right? When you're sitting at the table, you should talk about what those contingencies could be or what they look like or what negotiating tips, you know, and negotiating power you have right there at the table. Yes, Michelle?
Can this be sent out afterwards?
Yes. Yes, it can. Yes, it can. So for your iBuyer, understand that all of these cash sellers, iBuyers, charge a fee. There's a fee, their fee, and then a repair credit, and they can range anywhere from 6% to 15%, depending on the property. There are no showings, stagings, or coordination of repairs. For iBuyers, it's a fast closing, and there's control over the closing dates. And then it removes the seller contingencies for purchase. And then finally, the house flipper. So understand when you're speaking to your sellers, this is not a flip. This is not a flip. A house flipper will actually charge you more. So those are those little signs in the yard, in the street, in the medians that go, "I'll buy your house." 40 to 50% off market value. Okay. Usually for distress situations requiring large renovation, and the goal is to flip for a large profit, as is sale. All right. This is not a flip. You got it? All right, so now we're speaking about specifically Keller offers. In order for your seller to qualify to be able to sell with Keller offers, it can only be pre-MLS. So in other words, if your seller decided, you know what, I want to go ahead and put it on MLS and do open houses and do all that stuff, and then they turn around and go, you know what, no, let's just do this offer pad thing, that thing you told me about, let's just do that now. Nope, it has to be during your listing presentation that you bring this up and discuss it with them at the table as an opportunity before you put it on MLS. Max offer is $500,000. That's it. So if the house is a luxury listing, it does not qualify. Must be newer than 1950. Donna, what age did you say your house was? 1910. So yours would not have qualified for this opportunity, but that's fine because you're never going to do that again.
No.
And then it must be less than 1.5 acres. All right. So great opportunity, and you know. So bottom line, if your house doesn't qualify, take that out of your listing presentation. Let them know that it's not something that can be done. Yes, ma'am.
That must be newer, 1950, I was thinking 1910. Is it actually built 1950 or effective age?
Do you know the answer to that by any chance? Must be. I got got that directly. So let's just say 1951.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
Well, then there's the built age, the effective age might be century, might be almost a century.
I know, right? I think it's the built age.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
I
just
think it's
went
the
to.
built age. Yeah. Thank you for clarifying. So for your listing presentation, again, remember it's got to be pre-MLS. So you want to open up the conversation and explore all of the options. So I want to help you guys also understand that the idea here is not to get them to choose OfferPad. It is to be completely transparent. So in a minute, I'm going to show you a net sheet that they recommend. But bottom line is you're going to have your net and you're going to have the potential OfferPad net right next to it. And that's going to be, of course, based on your experience. And when you do the actual training, they'll give you some tools to be able to calculate that as you're sitting there with them. you must use your, broker required forms. So I'm gonna go through some forms that they're gonna require you to use, but you're going to still use our listing forms. And so, in my mind, I'm thinking that the listing presentation could go something like, you know, either way, you know that you're going to sell this house, right, Mr. Seller? Yes, great. And you know that you wanna possibly explore this option with Keller Offers, right, Mr. Seller? Yes, absolutely. Okay, well then, let's go ahead and fill out the listing paperwork now, and then after we've received the offer, we'll determine whether you're going to go ahead and list with me, or whether you're going to choose the OfferPad offer. Okay? Does that sound good to you guys? Yes, Michelle?
Calling it an offer pad offer?
What's the
Why are we calling it an offer
Can
pad
you get
offer?
some
Keller
clarity
Offers.
on OfferPad's involvement in
Thank
this?
you so much.
I
Yes.
know that they're
Yes.
partnered with them,
Yes.
but this is our Keller Williams iBuyer.
Yes, Keller Offers. That is
Okay.
the official name of it.
Okay, so
I
we're not
apologize.
saying offer pad.
Yes, however, the logo says Keller Offers powered by OfferPad.
Right.
Right.
So,
Right.
are they funding purchases then? OfferPad?
Yes, it is OfferPad.
That's where we need clarity.
Yes, okay, so it is, so when you go through the site, and I'm gonna go through that as well, when you go through the site, you're going through the OfferPad site that's going to be specifically linked to you. You're gonna, well, excuse me, let's do that backwards. You're gonna be logging in, and when you log into your portal, it's your portal. Does that make sense? Okay, so it is powered by OfferPad, and it's important to help them understand that as well, because OfferPad has been marketing, and they're, you know, they're a big name. They're a big name, so you do want them to know that it is OfferPad.
I
Yes,
think Gary bought OfferPad, right?
I don't believe he did.
The partnership.
Do you know? He did. You don't know whether he bought it or not? I'll find that out for you. Yes.
So if the person decides to go directly with OfferPad, will they be getting exactly the same numbers?
Yeah, that's what I was
It,
wondering.
what do you mean exactly the same numbers through offer? If they go by themselves,
Yes.
they have completely cut you out of the deal. Do not allow them to go through OfferPad, and I'm gonna go through that.
Is
Are they
the
saving
offer
more
gonna look
money?
differently than ours is
Yeah, are they
going
gonna
to
save
look
money
like?
by going
It could.
direct?
It could.
Could.
It could. And so here's the great opportunity there. And you guys are speeding ahead. So here's the great opportunity, and I'll probably touch on it again. But the opportunity is, so say your net says one thing, OfferPad offers them something else. What we've been told directly from the reps at Keller Offers is that you could actually go back to OfferPad with your comps, because through the portal, you're actually gonna be required to provide comps. So say it's, within a, $3,000, $5,000 range, they don't wanna lose it over, through that, from that, short margin, that small margin. So at the end of the day, it really isn't about what the house is worth, it's really about what the fees are and what the expected renovation costs are versus what you would offer as a listing agent. Does that make sense? That's where the big gap is. It's not the price that they wanna fight you over.
So the offer price could be the same.
Could be the same.
And the net should be different,
Correct.
because we are
Exactly.
eliminating some of those
Bam.
fees. Got that.
Are we actually eliminating some of the costs if they went direct with OfferPad?
Yes.
Or
No, it's going to be higher.
It's
Yeah,
gonna be
you
higher.
should expect, and that's what you should expect them for, that it will be higher with OfferPad. What they're paying for is convenience,
Right.
okay?
Yeah, but I mean versus Keller Williams as an agent of OfferPad, that's what I'm wondering, are there more fees with KW and
No.
iBuyer?
No.
Or
That's
should
what
be
you're
less
saying.
fees?
Right,
That's what I'm trying to understand.
The fees will be less, so the net will be
The
more.
fees will be less
so the
with
net will
Keller Williams
With
as
Keller
the
Williams,
iBuyer?
yes.
No, the fees will be less with Keller Williams if you're the agent. But if you're talking about Keller Offers,
Keller
the
Offers.
fees are going to be the same,
They're the same.
yes.
So
Good?
I don't understand.
Okay,
How
so
can
what-
the price be lower if they call if the fees are the same? Is it just our commission?
Okay, so, let's role play. So, you decide to list your house with me, right? And so, we already know that we've had this conversation about what you already know you need to do to the house or don't wanna do to the house, or things of that nature. Inspections haven't been done yet, but bottom line, you know exactly what your net is going to be, because I've explained it to you when I'm sitting down at the listing presentation with you. Bottom line, period, done. OfferPad has a fee associated with just for using their services, right? So there's an additional fee for that, and then we're gonna talk about what they give to you as well, in a minute. But there's a fee just for using the service, and then on top of that, there's the renovation cost right up front. So where the negotiation power is taken away. Whereas if you're working with a buyer, so, now Heidi comes up and she's the buyer, she has her inspection done, and she says, I like it, but will you retile the whole floor? And you say, no. And she goes, okay, that's fine, I'll take it. So now you've cut out that cost and you're able to net more because you refused whatever she asked for. But with OfferPad, they're saying this is the way this has to go, period, and off we go. Does that make sense? So it's going to be higher.
OfferPad is saying fix it or the deal is off.
Exactly.
And going through us, through Keller offers,
Negotiation power.
negotiation power, they have the option of saying no, like Donna did.
Right.
And still,
But that, remember, Donna didn't use one of the traditional iBuyers. They contacted her.
Right.
This sounds like a smaller company that's almost in a sense, I mean, because we've never even heard of them before.
No.
But that's, you know, basically what they did. She said absolutely not, and then they went away and then came back. So, OfferPad's not going to do that. You were actually talking to somebody on the phone, was it? And so there was an actual person. You're actually the go-between. So the seller is never going to speak to an OfferPad representative. It always goes through you. Yes.
Just to try to clarify.
Yes.
So the OfferPad fees are typically going to be higher than the Keller Williams, offer
Yes.
with the iBuyer program. And is that correct or no? It's the same. You're saying it's the same.
Wait. One more time.
The buyer was gonna ask us, the seller's gonna ask us this.
Mhm.
Are their fees lower if they go direct to OfferPad as opposed to going to Keller Williams? Because they may say, well, you're like another middleman.
Right, I could just cut you
How is
out
it not
altogether.
gonna be more expensive
Right,
to
I see
go-
what you're saying.
Yeah, how is it not?
I don't have an answer for that. I would assume not, but I'm gonna go ahead. So I know Rick had a question that I wanted to find out more about. Did they buy it? And then I wanna ask that question as well. Thank you.
What was that question?
Can somebody scribe for me, please? Would you mind just writing down a couple of things that I wish to ask? Great question, man. Thank you. Any other questions? So,
Oh, well, okay, so for that question,
mhm.
and you know this, but just for everybody else to think.
Yeah.
Galen is the one that is heading the whole iBuyer program, and she was the founder of one of the other big ones, not, maybe
Open
maybe
Door?
Open Door, yeah. So Gary Keller hired Galen, who's now running our iBuyer program.
Mhm.
And they're basically, our iBuy program is no more expensive than anybody else's iBuyer program. The only thing is they've built into the fees, they're basically paying us instead of selling off that lead to another agent. So the fees for another iBuyer is not any higher than ours, it's just that they're paying us directly for that listing lead instead of selling that seller to another person.
And I'll definitely confirm that, because that does make sense, because they
Right.
then use
Yeah.
another listing agent to go ahead and sell it,
You're
but
only
it's
gonna
already
get the
in-house.
1% on that initial,
Right,
and then I know you're getting to this,
Yeah,
you're only
I'm gonna
gonna
get to
get the 1% on that initial, but
Yeah.
then you get your sign in the yard and you automatically get the listing itself, and you have that all the way through, whereas when the other iBuyers, they get that program, you're now, like, you were never even in that transaction, and then they're selling that lead to somebody else. So
okay, so
instead
that's
of-
traditionally what it would happen
instead
with
of
like
them
open
paying
doors.
that fee to somebody else,
Okay.
that's
So you're
where
getting the marketing.
We got a lot of
and-
ground to cover, guys. Go
Oh
ahead,
my
last
God.
question, and then I'm gonna move on.
So, in my experience comparing Open Door to
Mhm.
OfferPad,
Mm-hmm,
and what I've had specifically OfferPad say to me is, Ron, we don't give you as high, I'm like, why is your offer so much lower than Open Door?
okay.
And they said, upfront, we calculate a rehab fee,
Mm-hmm,
and we stick with it. Open Door gives you a higher fee up front, and then when they do their inspection walkthrough, then they beat you down on the price.
oh,
This
that's
is,
good, that's
this
good
is
for your
words
listing
that
point.
an OfferPad employee told me
Okay.
when we were seeking a cash offer for
Okay.
one of our listings.
Okay,
So you were mentioning, I just wanted to, how does that clear or tie into what you're saying
well, I mean, I
right
think,
now?
honestly, I think you just sort of gave us a little piece of a script to be able to say if one of your sellers says to you, well, you know, I was looking at Open Door too, what do you think of them? Or, you know, and I like what you just said right there, where the difference is if they charge their fee up front, if Open Door is charging their fee up front and then they have the inspection, and it sounded to me like you said they can still come back and beat you up some more.
Open Door, when they do the inspection, and I had somebody, and I said, you can go ahead and go with them, they wanted to cancel their listing, they canceled it, and then my seller, who canceled with me, had to pay 12 grand to Open Door to replace their roof.
Wow, yeah, so.
You laugh at it.
Huh?
Okay. So again, during your listing presentation, these are the things you need to do. When you're at the listing presentation, you do want to obtain an approved inspection time for your seller. So in other words, say they're like, yeah, we don't want to sell until July of next year. But let's go ahead and do this open door thing now. And the problem is, and I'll get to this also, you've got 7 days to accept the offer. The expectation is that they're going to be selling right then and there. So if this is a future listing, this is not something that you want to do right then and there. You've got to already have it timed and planned out. If they don't want to move for a few months, then you wait until that time to go ahead and submit this.
Being that it's pre-MLS,
Mhm.
could you test market it and then it expires, or you cancel it and then it becomes pre-MLS before you go?
And Heather, if you could write that down for me as well, because that was something that I was thinking also. If it expires, if it's an expired listing or a withdrawn listing, I would assume yes. I would assume yes. Because we do take expired listings and withdrawn listings as well, right? So it's a great opportunity to speak to a for sale by owner and say, you know, have you considered doing, you know, an iBuyer program? They go, well, what's that? Oh, a cash buyer, Mr. Seller. Would you like me to come by and tell you a little bit more about it? Right?
Yeah, it helps when they say want to sell in July, and come May and June, there's no offers.
Right.
Now we're going, motivations change.
Exactly, exactly. And then finally, you must have a Supra lockbox on the door, and that's for the inspector to be able to get in, or coded lockbox on the door for the inspection. Okay, so this is just an example of what Keller Offers is intending for you guys to do, is to be able to give them a side-by-side net sheet. Now understand that the Keller Offers net is always going to be higher. The expectation is not for it to look lower and then walk, you know, say, oh yeah, this iBuyer thing is much better than using an agent. Let's just go ahead and do that. It's about transparency. You know, it's not for us to beat up iBuyer programs either. It's about making sure that we're helping our sellers make the best decision, right? So it's about that transparency, and you will, again, when you go through the training, they're going to give you all of this information so that you'll be able to get a net sheet with all of that information on it preloaded. All right? Okay, so not going through all of this, but there are some required documents in order for them to be able to participate. Again, when you go through the training, you're gonna get these documents, but the seller must sign the informed consent disclosure. So this is required. So it's a disclosure to help them understand the difference between the traditional approach and then the alternative approach, and helping them understand the choice is theirs. Nobody forced them to make an iBuyer decision. Nobody's coercing them or anything like that. They want to make sure that they are covering their behinds, all right? But it separates you from the competition. Okay, this is also the second page of that same consent. You're free to shop around, it talks about the difference between Keller Offers and what a Keller Williams agent provides. Just helping them understand that they have options. The next thing is that they do have to sign the Keller Offers privacy policy, must be provided to them. And understand when I say must, these are things that need to be uploaded to the OfferPad site, otherwise they will not give you back an offer for the property. So you have to have these things as part of your listing presentation. Okay, so this is this legalese. And so I'm going to do exactly what she did on the call. She read it directly line for line. KW brokers and agents, including those who participate in the program, are always free to set their own process around commissions. At the same time, because the Keller difference is about enhancing and empowering the consumer, it is important to, there's their line missing, Keller offers to minimize surprises or hassles to sellers who are considering exploring a direct cash offer on their home. As such, Keller Offers strongly encourages participating brokers and agents to consider adopting a practice that would cap their commission at 1% in transactions where the seller has decided to accept an offer facilitated by Keller Offers. Keller Offers strongly encourages any broker agent who in their seller, who in something, in a cash offer, thank you, I'm too close to it, facilitated by Keller Offers intends to pursue listing compensation from their seller above the 1% commission to obtain informed advance consent from such client. Keller Offers reserves the right to suspend or terminate an agent from the program based on seller complaints or disputes. So this is that moment where I tell you guys that you will not tell your seller that it is a 2% commission and then 1% comes from, Keller offers, and then you take another 1% from them. That is not appropriate. That's not something that we're gonna participate in. We're gonna play by the rules. And here's why this is important also. Keller Offers is going to be requesting a survey from everyone who participated in the transaction and asking questions just to make sure. It's really just compliance and making sure that this thing is running the way that it should. So that being said, please make sure that you guys are letting them know about how this works and that you will be getting a 1% commission from Keller Offers, period. Okay? Okay. All right,
So,
yes.
to dumb all of that down,
Mm-hmm.
we're getting paid 1% commission.
Correct.
Just on that buy side.
Just on the buy side.
But then
you
we
have
turn
the
around and
list
sell it,
Correct.
so then we list
Yes.
it and sell
For
it.
1%.
Yes, so let me just run through that
Yeah,
really
please
quick to just
explain
clarify, and then all of the little pieces are gonna fall into place.
So we,
you're-
basically, we sell it twice and we get 1% each time.
Correct,
Unless you bring the buyer and then you get.
and then you get another 3%. So, does that make sense? Your seller accepts the offer pad, the Keller Offers offer, and then offer pad gives you back 1% at closing, right?
But that's
Then
for the
the-
listing.
yes.
We're selling commission on the listing lead, right? Is that how we're looking at it? The offer pad is gonna take.
Gives you 1%.
For the listing.
When they're in the house.
When the seller sells the house to offer pad, you get 1%.
So the seller's net sheet has.
And then when we sell it again to the general public, we get 1%.
Your client now is OfferPad and you're selling it for OfferPad to somebody.
So now the house is vacant, it's empty, the sellers
Yeah.
moved on, they're gone. OfferPad then has the listing, and you, as the agent who gave it to them, now you get to list the house for another 1%,
But only 1%.
only 1%.
That, as we're
Now
looking
it's a
at the
vacant
listing,
listing,
but you're
you
still
get to
paying
put your
3%
signs in the
for the
yard, you get to do open houses in it, you get to procure other buyers. Should you procure another buyer for that same property, you get 3% for that, for a total of 5% potential.
Do we, do
Okay.
they by chance pay us for marketing, such as pictures and such?
No,
So out of that 1%,
you've
all
still
of our
gotta pay
out of
for the
pocket.
marketing and things of that nature, yes,
And let
yes.
me ask you one last question with
Yes.
that. So, once an iBuyer buys it,
Mhm.
and we, as a listing agent, relist it, is
Mhm.
there a cap on the buyer side? I mean, does it have to be 3%, or can we charge more?
Can you charge more than 3%?
Yes.
Not from my understanding.
So
No.
you have to only get paid 1, and you can only charge 3.
We were told 3%, period. Now, some states are actually prevented from having you being the listing agent and you being the buyer's agent. So you may hear from other KW agents in other states that they're not allowed to do that. We know in the state of Florida that we are transaction brokers, right? So we're one of the states that we're allowed to do that.
Okay, thank you.
There's a little confusion around that, but we can do that. Yes, Rick?
can we do 1.5, 2.5, or is that gonna be against their compensation?
So you're basically.
Still 4 for them, listing agent 1.5, buyer's agent 2.5.
Yeah, it's gotta be the one, that's what they do, yeah, yeah, okay. Okay, so offer request, so now, right, you've already, you're requesting the offer, excuse me, so that your seller says, yes, I wanna go ahead and submit an offer to Keller Offers. And so this is actually the website that you're gonna log into. I don't know what Sarah Fee is all about, but I I plugged it in and yes, it works. So, SARATHI.kelleroffers.com is currently the website. Don't know if that's scheduled to change, but go ahead and log in just so you can see what that looks like. So, everyone who has already signed up to take the training class through Keller Offers, it was requested that they have their KW email address. This is for the purpose of verification. This is only for Keller Williams agents. So, that being said, a lot of confusion was like, well, I don't even use my KW email address. That being said, guys, in order to participate in this, you must use your KW address. However, you don't have to continue to use your KW email address. Does that make sense? It's for verification purposes. So if you don't know what that is, make sure you speak to one of us. Chuck, speak to Chuck. I'm just kidding. To help you figure out what your KW email address. So you use your KW email address to log in. And you have to reply back to the same email thread. So you're gonna get an email back saying, thank you for submitting, blah, 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 this, that, and the other. You put the property address in the subject line and just make sure to continue to communicate. You fill in the offer input form and upload the documents, the ones I was talking about, your informed consent disclosure, the survey, if they have one, the seller's disclosure, the lead-based paint if applicable, okay? So those are things you need to make sure you have them do at the listing appointment. I know sometimes we go back for the seller's disclosure later on. You wanna have them do it and take it with you so that you can upload that document.
So, can I just dial back?
Yes.
You said that when we signed on for the training, we were supposed to use our KW email address?
Yes.
So I signed in out at Mega Camp, I don't think I did.
Okay.
They didn't ask for a KW then,
I didn't think so,
so now you got me worried.
Yeah, and don't worry, because you didn't pay anything or do anything yet. So so when we give you the address, the email address, I want you to go ahead and just sign up again with the
Not to pay
KW.
something?
You will, but not at this moment in time. Nobody's
Where will the
asking you to
emails
pay
go
anything
to?
just yet. Sorry?
Where will the emails go to?
Probably that KW email.
Which I've never accessed for years.
So, Heather, can you write that down for me? I need to verify where those email addresses go. And I'm gonna send the answers to all of the questions that I don't have answers to. Afterwards. Chuck's teasing me back there. Okay, so one of the things that in my mind as they were going through this portal, before you try this thing out, my goal, my hope is that we're actually able to explore this entire thing. Because there were actually questions in there that I'm just like, oh my gosh, we gotta ask that at the listing appointment? So there were just some things in there, so I recommend to you that when you do finally get in and get into the portal, before you have your listing appointment, go through the whole thing and look at the questions that they're asking, because like I said, I'm trying to think of, I didn't take a picture of one of the ones that I'm kind of concerned about, like I would have never even asked that question. But you wanna make sure that you know exactly what it's going to ask you so you don't have to go back and forth with your seller. Okay. All right. So offer response. Help your seller understand that, that it should take probably about actually you should receive a response within 72 hours, excuse me. So you can submit 7 days a week. They are on Central Time. So acknowledgement of offer received in 2 business hours. Keller offer business hours are 7 days per week, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So if you submit an offer before that time, you should receive a response the same day. An acknowledgement that they received your request, and within 72 hours, you'll have a response. Understand that Keller offers nor OfferPad will ever communicate with your client. They will always go through you directly, all right? Offer is good for 7 days, and this is what I was talking about before. So if they are future sellers, you don't want to submit today to figure out what's going to happen next, because that offer will not be good anymore. Offer will come to you from Keller Offers via link, and the offer can be accepted after reviewing the offer content. If seller denies the offer, you go to market, put it on MLS. If seller accepts the offer, you do so within the link, and contract is generated, and they will send it to the seller for review and execution directly. So that's the first time that they'll be communicating with them directly. So escrow will be opened with title, and then the home inspection will be scheduled. And this is an example of what that might look like. So they just did this little fake, purchase price of $100 with a 7.5 service charge. 7.5 service charge. So I don't know whether that is the standard service charge. Again, I just took a screenshot of what they had. But I think that is a good place to start, because if it's coming directly from their site, that's what I would assume is what it is moving forward. Pending inspection, repairs needed to sell. So that's something that will come after the inspection has been done. Oh, we're getting to that right now. Good question. So, welcome to the stage, First American Title Company. We've got Heidi and Kathy from First American Title who's here to discuss what they know currently about. God, what kind of applause was that?
Thank you for having us. Again, I'm Heidi Foster and Kathy Acosta. We are 2 of the business development managers here in Central Florida that represents the First American direct offices. I'm sure you've heard of us. I'm sure you've probably had a closing with us at some point. So yes, we are the preferred title company for OfferPad. They are, you know, I'll be honest with you, it's kind of like a separate division, so those aren't part of our direct offices, but there is a designated OfferPad title office. And then what typically happens is those clients will close at whatever First American office is convenient for them. And we know that we're statewide, we have 8 here in Central Florida, so we're kind of all over the place. So that maybe would have made your life a little easier. Sorry about that. Yeah, not sure who they were, but so that is one of the convenience factors. As you probably have heard, we are the first title company to be integrated into your command system. Raise your hand if you were at Mega Camp, right? So I was there as well. I don't know if you remember seeing some of you coming by our booth. But essentially, you know, obviously the whole purpose behind command is to, you know, increase efficiencies, reduce costs, enhance the consumer experience. And so when you know, Gary and your technology team were looking for a title company to have the technology that would really mirror what they're looking for, they came to First American. Again, for a few reasons. We already had that technology. We've been working with our lenders in that capacity through their operating systems for quite a few years. And we're not a competitor. None of us have title licenses, whereas a lot of the other major competitors are opening brokerages, and their title sales reps and escrow people do have real estate licenses. So I think that that was something that was important to your leadership. And we're really excited, as I said, your, as Keller Williams, confidence in First American, in our technology, and in our people. That being said, I'm sure that maybe some of you have seen what that will look like. Have you all seen what the First American interface is going to look like into command?
No.
So in the handshake section, I know that you have, we had a demo going at our booth out in Austin. But essentially in the handshake section, there will be a piece there, and again, your technology people are working with our technology people right now to customize what that experience will look like. So, but the last prototype I saw, once you do go under contract, there'll be a section for you to click a button, hit First American Title. You'll choose the closest title office in the area, or whatever your preferred office is. And then the contract would, and there'll be templates, hey, new contract for your office to start. It gets sent right over. The really cool thing is that it gets pushed right into our system. So right now, like I work with Tom and Jean and Rachel and everybody, Joanne. When a contract comes in, that gets sent over via email, and then our processors enter the information, and the contract gets opened like in the order that it came into the office that day, unless there's a closing date that needs to be rushed. The difference between the command system is that once you're keying all the information, and so remember, we're rekeying all the same information, purchase price, names of the parties, legal description, all that information, it gets pushed right into our system. So it's going right in there, even being pushed ahead of all the other other contracts that come in throughout the day. So that's, title work is being ordered that much quicker, and you think about efficiency, so then our closers, you know what I mean, they have more time to take calls and start that processing part of it. Also reducing errors, spelling errors and different things, because remember, we're rekeying all that same information. There will also be a transaction life cycle, so you're going to always be able to see where that process is or what's happening with that transaction. And this interfaces into we're very proud of our secure portal. We're one of the few title companies that when title work is ordered, the seller and the buyer get a link to, basically it's sort of like the lender's portals where they go in and they fill out all the different information that we'll need for processing. It's not sort of the old days anymore where you fill out like a seller information form, email it in or fax it in, and then all that information is rekeyed. They're able to go in to our secure portal. There's a 2-factor authentication process protecting their NPI, and they're keying in all the different information we need for processing, their loan information, social security numbers. They're answering, are they a U.S. citizen? And then they actually can DocuSign a couple of different documents, saving them time. like the reissue form and then the 1099 certification form. So then all that information, it's all being just pushed right into our system. So there's not that lag time where it's all being processed and rekeyed and re-entered. And again, offering the security of going through that secure portal, taking that off of you all with that exposure of having the NPI pass through your email systems.
So question
So,
for you,
yeah.
as it relates to this, so so our seller accepts the Keller offers offer, and then are we putting it into command and pushing it through to you?
Yep.
Or does Keller offer send it to you?
Yeah, so once you're entering it all in there, it's a one click, go in, choose the office, and it goes right into our system, and then title work gets ordered at that point,
Awesome.
and then that secure portal invitation goes out to buyer and seller.
Awesome. Any questions for title? Yes.
How do you get the documents? The documents are pushed as well.
Yep, everything goes right in.
So how do you know what documents to get?
Well,
Like how does it just pushes everything?
it's gonna push the contract over to us, and then I'm assuming you're gonna be able to upload, any maybe commission instructions and DAs, different things like that, but, from what I've seen, you're gonna be able to upload the documents that need to be pushed in, and it goes right into our system, and title work gets ordered immediately. Yes, sir?
So as for the closing cost to the seller, since the buyer's choosing it, they're paying for the closing cost except the $150?
So we don't directly work for the OfferPad offices, so to be honest with you, I don't know what that looks like. I can tell you that as we're actually one of the largest, I think we are the largest title company in the United States. We're very competitive as far as pricing. We don't charge junk fees or anything like that, so we're already, on the very modest side as far as closing costs because we're so heavily regulated and looked at. But specifically with the OfferPad, I'm not sure. I can try to find that out.
We're gonna add that to the list.
We'll add that to the list. Yes.
In our listing presentations, would we be, like, for example, we're discussing how this would work, would we use the First American Title logo, the logo for OfferPad, the logo for Keller Williams all together? Is that allowed? Like, when we're creating a marketing piece?
I would say yes.
And actually, you can, I don't know exactly how it's gonna work in the future with OfferPad, but we do have a website, that you can utilize to, send and print the closing costs. And you can personalize it with your picture, with your information, right? And goes out, and you can also use that in different languages if need to be.
Once the property is under contract, no, not before, or before?
No, you can use it right now. If you have a listing presentation, when you go to the listing presentation, you go into the system, and then you can print that out and you can, bring it with you.
Yeah, and there's different options. You can start with like a net proceeds goal. So you can do a traditional seller net sheet. We have a version where you can start with like the net goal. Your seller says, hey, I don't care what you listed at, I just want a net 50 grand. And start with that, and it backs it out and gives you a recommended listing price. And then we also have a multiple offer tool where you can look side by side with multiple offers and see what's gonna be the better return for your seller.
And then Heather's last
Okay,
question.
so I have two questions. As a previous, I had a buyer that bought a home from OfferPad. We went to the First American Title location of the choice, and it was a mobile closer. And the mobile closer honestly knew nothing. She was just like signing your paper, and she didn't know anything. Is it gonna be the same experience for this? Or, cause I don't think as you've already stated, you don't work for OfferPad, so is it gonna be just a random mobile closer?
I can't answer that. I don't know what that looks like sort of going forward with OfferPad. OfferPad sort of started out as like a small client, and then they just kind of started growing to this, where they are today. And so, again, it's kind of like it's a totally separate division, so I can't answer that, but certainly, and I do know that that's the structure now. I know we have a lot of mobile closers that come into our direct offices and utilize the space, but I'm not really sure how that's gonna look down the road, especially with all the integrations. I don't know.
Yeah, but if you like for example, I'm in the southwest, right? Osceola County and all that, and what we do is, yes, OfferPad, because the office is in Tampa, right? So they send a mobile notary to our office, or they request it through us. So what we've done is we previously interviewed these mobile notaries and we make sure they know how we like things.
Is that just your office though, or all offices? Cause I don't,
No,
offense
well,
to your title company, the experience for my, buyer was not a good one,
Right.
with this mobile closer. So I was curious, is it gonna be like a random person all the time, or?
well, I do that personally in our office, but as a suggestion, that's something that you can ask. And we're just gonna pass that information forward to the offer pad division.
And what I'm even personally thinking is, you know, if we really start to do this thing on a high level,
Exactly.
why not be able to establish the
Yeah.
relationship
Right.
where we're
And-
able to
And we
say,
can do that. I
yeah.
mean, because we have a portal and then we request the mobile closers from there, so we don't have those mobile closer. And the same thing with the language, you know, so if we need somebody in Spanish or something like that, we can accommodate that.
Okay.
And remember, starting in January, there's gonna be another closing option.
Yes.
And that's remote online notarization.
what?
Also known as Ron.
Yes, so
so-
the state of Florida has approved,
And don't need the wet signatures, oh, yeah.
One more thing,
Okay, wait, did everybody just hear that? Cause my mind just exploded.
Yes.
So starting January, say that one more
January
time.
2020, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so they've approved online,
the state of Florida has approved electronic notarization and online notarization. What that means is you can have like a web closing. So through our secure portal that's set up, your clients will be able to choose a closing time. It can be 8 o'clock at night, it can be, you know, on a Saturday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, whatever. They are going to have a web video closing essentially, and there's a whole process for verification. It runs off the US Census. In the beginning, it will not be able to be used for any non-US citizens because the identification and questions are tied with the US Census, so that currently won't be working for foreign clients. But in the beginning, it'll be for US citizens, and they'll be able to have essentially like a Skype closing. So if you think about the convenience world that we're living in with Amazon and Uber Eats and everything that we all love now, I personally have been doing this 20 years. I feel that very quickly that's going to be the preferred method of closing. And I know that this is another example of ways it can be utilized for that type of experience. You're going to be able to have more of a designated person video chatting that closing and them not having to run all over town, and I think that that's definitely gonna come into
well,
play.
and you said it's command, they can just sign, but what if they're not, a lot of buyers, or sellers are not tech savvy, and,
Right.
you know, they need to like, you know.
Right, well, the traditional method will always be, you know, having a closing table, we'll always have that, but this will be another option for those customers that are busy. They're gonna be getting their documents earlier, so they'll have time to review them and have questions answered. And, it's all being done, we have a relationship with SnapDocs out of California that it's making that process very easy, and it's gonna be more skilled closers. And you think about it, with the online closings, we're gonna be able to utilize, clients that speak specific languages that are convenient for your customers, because they don't necessarily have to be right in that same title office. So I think it's gonna open up a lot of different options. What I'm excited about and what you should be excited about is that we're both with companies that are really forward-thinking, right? There's a lot of change. I think this is a really big year for change in our industry. And it sounds very scary, all these different things, and there's a lot of things we still don't know, but both of our companies are very technology-focused to take us into this next generation of real estate, so.
thank you guys
Thank
so
you
much.
so much for having us.
Yes. Alright, so we got a few more slides to go and I'm gonna zip through them. Post Keller offer closing. So the Keller offers team will send the agent the master listing addendum after closing. Don't ask me what that is. But they're going to send an addendum after the closing. And you have to return it signed. Because if you don't return it signed within 48 hours, we have to sign it for you so that you can get the listing back. But I don't have a copy of what that master listing addendum looks like. So again, the seller that you worked with is gone. you want to put your sign in the yard and do open houses in it, the only way that you can do that is if we sign what they're calling a master listing addendum, and you have to get it back to them within 48 hours. So we're gonna work on processes internally to make sure that you don't lose your opportunity to list the property again.
So if you don't get it back in 48 hours.
You lose
see
it.
Okay.
You lose it, okay? You cannot list the property.
And that's within the 48 hours after the closing.
Correct. And my assumption, you know, I'm just kind of thinking out loud, if an agent is working with us initially and then they change brokerages, then they lose the opportunity to list the property back again if it's in mid-transaction and things of that nature. So that's the only thing that I can think of would be a reason to do that. The super and lockbox will remain, so be sure to put it in a secure location, because that's when the renovation team is gonna come in and you be using that lockbox. So it's gotta stay on the door. So this is what somebody was asking about before, the photo vendor. This is just a preferred photo vendor. You are not required to use them. They charge $199 for 20 photos, and if you want, for 20 premium edited photos, and if you want editing for blue skies, green grass, $249. Yeah, that's $449 for all kinds of other things. So it's, and I know that we have better, you know, photography companies that have better prices than that, but they will try to go ahead and push you to this photography company. Okay. So now it's yours. Everything is done. It's ready to go. And their request is that you prepare a CMA for them 48 hours before you list it. And you have to submit it to Keller Offers. I guess they just want to see if the price has changed or moved in any direction when it's ready to go. Ensure that the sign is in the yard with an offer pad rider. So we're going to find out, could you write that down also, where to get the offer pad riders, if provided. List the property in MLS using the new photos. Provide weekly updates to Keller Offers utilizing the proper forms. And then bring all offers to your point of contact. At that point, you're going to have somebody, again, that same chain of communication that you've been using, you're going to continue to communicate there.
Aren't we the seller?
OfferPad is the seller. Keller Offers.
We're just representing OfferPad.
Exactly. They're the seller.
They're going, they
Yeah.
bought it.
They're
We
going
do the reno,
through the
that would be the
brokerage.
same.
So this is what we were talking about before. They will pay 1% to you on the settlement statement. And then the co-broke to buyer's agent is up to 3%. Up to 3%, yes.
I know I've shown a couple offer pad properties. Are they still gonna put it in is it gonna be in the app where people can access the codes?
Great question. Can we write that, please?
Cause a buyer by themselves can access the house.
That's a great question. We'll go ahead and get that. I would assume so, but yeah, we'll go ahead and ask that question, yes.
Okay. I've seen several of the iBuyers as of late, and I think OfferPad is one, where they're doing this reduced, the 3% minus the $300. It just bristles everybody. Is that gonna be a thing?
Okay, let's go ahead and write that.
That's that question. Is there a time from signing the agreement to go ahead and relist it until they have to list it again, until we have to list it again? Does it have to be on the market within a week? Is there a period of time? Cause so let's say, for example, let's say your seller that was your seller, maybe they leave it a mess, maybe it's damaged.
Right.
Whose responsibility is that? Is that now OfferPad's responsibility?
Yes, so
is there a time period there before you have to have it on the market, or is that?
So from what I understand, so prior to closing on the property, OfferPad is actually going to send an inspector to the property to see it prior to actually closing on it. So if the seller did something to the property prior to closing on it, OfferPad will not close.
Okay, so they're gonna have somebody come out before it's relistable.
That's
So
what,
like a
what I
final
understand.
inspection for
Yes,
anything else.
exactly.
To answer, because of her question, and then I had a question of my own. I've talked to some other agents who do other iBuyer programs, not necessarily OfferPad. And the company will let you know when it's ready. They don't like tell you ahead of time, because contractors can take.
Right, so it's case by case.
And so they said, because I've had coming soon listed on Zillow, that were OfferPad or Zillow Homes.
Sure, yeah.
And
But the
so
good
I
news
call
is the
listing
entire
and say,
time
"We're
you
going to be
can.
listing it," and they say, well, it's through our Zillow program or our OfferPad program, and even we don't know when it'll be on the market.
And then,
Yeah, thank you very much for that,
Yeah.
yes.
My question though
Oh,
was, sorry, my question was though, I know that they are asking for a CMA,
Mm-hmm.
but in my experience with showing OfferPad homes to other buyers, quite often they're overpriced listing.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mhm.
I'm guessing even though you give them a CMA, they still get to set the price at
I
whatever they want.
wouldn't necessarily guess that, because what I'm hearing is that the relationship is very important. That brings me down to my last bullet. You know, this is an opportunity to start establishing that relationship with them. They want to be able to, you know, provide a level of service and create a relationship with the agent. So you're going to have a point of contact there, and you're gonna be able to have that communication with them. So if you offer them a CMA, I feel what I'm hearing, what it seems to me is that they're really truly gonna take into consideration what you say. It's not going to be an algorithm-based listing price. That's what it sounds like to me.
okay, so I've got two more thoughts. And this is just confirming verbally, other people might not be thinking about it. FHA seasoning is gonna be an issue. Once you resell it,
Mm-hmm.
you can't sell it FHA, cause
Good
there's
point.
no
Right.
seasoning.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is. They reject, I wasn't even thinking when I submitted an offer, and they
Mhm.
immediately rejected it.
Mm-hmm, perfect.
They being,
Okay.
OfferPad. Because it was FHA.
Because it's
Right.
FHA.
It was, they said
That's true, they
we
need
said we
to-
appreciate the offer,
Yeah,
but. we
that's what I'm
don't-
saying, but I know a lot of people
Unless
probably
it's
are
been 3
thinking about
months,
that,
if
but
it's been 3 months, then you might be
Yeah.
okay. Depends on
if
how
it's
long
been
it
3
takes.
months, what are the chances of that? Hopefully
That's
not.
how the is.
Right, exactly. My other thought, and this is maybe me overthinking, because that's what I do. So you not convince, and you help your seller sell for $250,000.
Mhm.
And they agree to it, and that's all great and good.
Sure.
And then you turn around and you relist it, cause you know they're gonna look
Mm-hmm.
for $275.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna need to be prepared
Yep.
for the response to that, where they call back and say, why didn't you tell me I could sell it for $275?
And that's a good thought. So those are things that you again.
That's a choice
That's
they
why
had
I'd
in
rather
the
go
Right.
the traditional way.
Right.
That's the choice they
I
had
don't
in the
think that's a
beginning.
problem.
Yeah, it's
I'm
really,
just saying,
again,
I'm just
yeah,
saying,
no, I love your
putting thoughts
overthinking.
out there.
I love your overthinking, because again, remember, the objective today was to give you guys talking points
Right.
for when you're speaking to your sellers. So if that is something, you know, that's something you wanna say up front. Now, understand that OfferPad may blah, 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 right? So, yes, last question, and then we gotta move on, because I wanna release you
Well, I was
guys.
just gonna comment on, I work with a lot of investors, and they explaining this up front. They're paying for convenience and time.
Right,
That's why they're taking that, and if it's explained up front, there's no.
and there's that
Cause that's the
profile.
only,
They know that you're gonna
that's the
relist.
only real benefit to going this direction is
Yeah.
for their
Yeah,
convenience.
it's all about managing those
That's it,
expectations.
it's not about making the most amount of money by
Right,
doing this.
right, it's about moving quickly.
Are they also have $1,000 moving, local moves, like, or one of them does that? huh?
Yeah, so OfferPad, now I saw this on their site, they did not discuss this during our conference call, but that is another good question. So they offer moving, I think, I wanna say within a 50-mile radius. Again, they didn't mention it on the call, so that's something that I am going to ask and find out if it's something that they offer, or if they're offering through Keller offers. Yes, Michelle?
Just real quick, I think it's important for us to remember, this is an option that we're giving. When you go into a listing appointment, you should not be starting with this. This shouldn't be something
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
you're leading with. This is something that when they go, oh, no, I can't wait to do this, I don't wanna deal with showings, I don't wanna deal with them, then you give it as an option, and then you go that direction. But your listing appointment should be your listing appointments to use you as the agent. This is just a way for us to survive the fact that iBuyer programs are out there.
Right.
And it is our only way to stay current in that market, because right now, all the iBuyer programs doing everything they can to not use agents.
Bam.
And Keller Williams has come
Yeah.
out with a way to save you in this process. This process is happening whether you're part of it or not, so this is their way of utilizing you so you don't lose out on that market.
This
And
is
there you
something,
go.
this is
We're already,
something to put in our
we're
back
already
pocket.
gaining market
Yeah.
share, so
This-
suddenly
I
say,
felt like it was
you know what, I have the
being
option.
put it in your presentation,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
no,
this
this
is-
is
No, it is an
not-
option.
It's
It is
an
an
option
option.
in every
Yeah.
presentation.
It's a,
There's no
right,
way, yeah.
right, and that's a good point, because you might wanna have it on a separate sheet and you're like, okay, nope, you know? But what you don't wanna hear later is, you know what, actually, we're gonna do this instead, and you never present it.
We're gonna go with
It's also
OfferPad
not gonna
instead.
be relevant to all price point homes.
It's
Definitely not.
So it shouldn't be like the main thing that you're talking about in your listing appointment, and you should know where the cap is.
It's all
But
relevant.
if it doesn't even apply, then you shouldn't even bring it up.
I would just think,
Okay,
I would
so guys,
just
we're gonna
think-
move on. We're gonna move
All
on.
of my listings qualified for that price point, however, they don't.
Okay, so how to participate. So, once you've signed up for it, you're gonna complete a test at the end of the training. They're going to be individual tests. My goal, I was hoping to be able to get like a mass training, but they told me no. And so, each one of you are individually going to get a test because you've gotta pass with a score of 70 or higher to participate in it. Your KW email, to access the request portal and use during the transaction process, you must have a KW email address. And then you're gonna return the executed indemnity agreement signed by you and us. So, I'm assuming that's gonna be something that comes after you pass the test, and so just make sure that we sign it for you. We'll be very excited to sign it for you and see everyone being able to participate with this, in this, if that's an option that you wanna offer to your sellers.
On
Yes.
that note, just a quick one. Okay, so if you, let's say Tricia doesn't do it and I do, and she's sitting in a seller, in a listing presentation, and she feels that they would be a candidate, can she talk about this option and then give it to me?
Referral.
Will they allow her to talk about it if she's not authorized
It's
to
gonna
do
be
it?
her portal, it's gonna be,
You're not supposed to be
Yeah.
presenting it if you've not been trained on it.
That's what I'm wondering.
exactly.
They know you're-
So the
you're
answer
not.
is, the answer is no. You've gotta be the one to do
If
it.
they said they wanted to do it, you can say, listen, we offer that, I'm not trained in it, but I can get you an agent.
But I'll
to
be
do
back
it."
That's
tomorrow.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Right,
that's what
right,
I'm not
right,
supposed to
right,
present it now.
right.
No, that's what I was asking. Can she say we have this
Not a step
available?
for stating where it needs to be signed by you and your broker.
Mhm.
Who are they sending it to be signed by the broker?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last sentence.
Look for return the executed indemnity agreement signed by you and your broker.
Yes.
There was a couple other slides where it's by you and your broker.
Mhm.
Where are we sending it?
Oh.
Signed by the broker.
You're sending it to Phil. Phil, you just
No,
learned that, right?
I'm more getting the question out there because of the fact that.
Yes, no, actually, and I'm also thinking about this as well, because we wanna make sure that we've got a system that works for you guys. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm already thinking that it should be uploaded in Command or, to gain compliance approval or, so that we can get it to you as quickly as possible.
Yeah, but some of these are like 48-hour windows or something. We ain't got time to wait.
Yeah, we're gonna work on making sure we turn it around quickly,
So when do we take all of this training?
I was coming to that,
Tomorrow.
so,
Pay our bills.
so here it goes. Okay, so if this was important for me, even though we don't have all of the answers, one of the things that I noticed right away was that on October 31st, it goes up to $250. However, this won't be ready till the end of November. So my goal was to save you guys money. I don't want you, hearing about it in November and then going to sign up and paying more money than you ever needed to, had you known about it sooner. So that's the website up top, and it's gonna bring you to, please follow this link to pre-register, which is this long Google form web address. But pre-register to lock in the $99 rate. So yes, you have to pay $100, $99 to go ahead and take their training and then the exam at the end.
So
If we signed up at Mega Camp, or we already
They
pre-registered?
sent us an email a while ago too.
Yes, and I got an email as well. So I signed up at Mega Camp. I didn't pay anybody anything or anything
Right.
like that. And then, so that's a good point too. When you sign up, you don't have to pay anything. All you're doing is locking in that $99 rate. So go ahead and sign up. Don't expect to pay anything. And then the expectation is that we're going to receive additional notifications saying, okay, we're ready for you to go ahead and take your training now. So go ahead and pay the $99 so that you can go ahead and do it.
Well, like I said,
Can we
when
get our
we signed up, when we signed up at Mega Camp, I didn't use KW email, so that's why I'm.
That's what,
Yeah.
that's
And that's why I'm saying go ahead and do it again.
Go with the KW.
Do it again. Yeah, yes.
I filled out the form and I found my KW email and registered, and I got a response back that said it was incomplete information.
I got the same thing.
So then I did it again, and then it
I
came
don't know,
up
that
again,
might
so
be a better
there's a
question.
little email at the bottom that says, don't reply to this email, if you have questions, go to that email.
Right.
So I emailed him and said, hey, I don't know what's going on, it
Right.
doesn't like my KW email, and then he responded back and said, I took care of it, it's all set.
And it literally, my exact same experience. So they're working out the kinks on their end too, and that was literally what happened to me as well. But I just don't want you to miss the opportunity. And yes, they're very responsive. It's like training at Keller offers or
Yeah.
something, I can't remember what, but
Yeah.
when you sign up, you'll see it. And so literally all of those questions that you guys asked me, go, hey, 20 more questions. So I'll go ahead and get those answered and make sure I get those back to you guys. Yes.
So if for some reason we don't pass the test, how many times can we take it or do we get our money back?
Okay, Heather, we can write that one down too.
No.
We're passing the test. We are totally passing this test. You know what, if we all gonna sit, wait, are we being recorded? If we all gonna sit in the room together? I'm just kidding. What you got, what you got? I'm just kidding, guys.
So, this, current KW split still applies to the 1%?
Yes. Yes. He wanted to know if the split still applied. Yes. Commission is commission, yes. Yes. Okay. And then, so last thing is that the individual online training will begin, and this was literally her answer yesterday, in 4 to 6 weeks, about late November. So that's when it will begin. So this is something that you can begin having conversations about with your sellers. However, let them know that, you know, chances are January. If they wanted to sell in January, that would be an opportunity.
And when is this platform available?
And that's what I'm thinking, January. If the training starts in late November, I'm thinking December, but I like to kind of push things a little bit. And so our answer would be December. I would tell the sellers January. You know, so for 2020 planning, Mr. Seller, right? Okay, so that is it, guys. We survived, Keller Office. I hope that was informative for you, and we will keep you abreast of any additional information that we receive. Thank you so much, Heather, for being my scribe. I'll get those questions answered, and we'll push them to you. I'll send it via email when I get the answers, okay? All right. And guys, do not leave us here with these cupcakes because I can't fit into my pants as it is. So please take a cupcake on your way out. Thank you so much.
Record. Slide it.